Welcome back to Unsolicited. This is where we give you all kinds of unsolicited insights that you didn't know you needed about everything government contracting. Today, we are joined by Joel Morgan, the Assistant Director of Workforce Development for the City of San Antonio. Joel's been in the workforce game for more than 20 years, helping connect education, training, and real job opportunities. Before joining the city, he ran a private junior college campus and built programs that linked people looking for work with employers who really needed skilled talent. He also helped design training programs in aerospace and manufacturing that led to more than 5,000 people landing jobs with major Fortune 500 companies. These days, he helps lead Ready to Work San Antonio, one of the biggest publicly funded workforce programs in the country, created by the city to build stronger, more mission-ready local workforce. So Joel, welcome to Unsolicited.
Thank you.
We're super glad to have you on.
Yeah, it's a pleasure.
I'm excited to learn all things about how you help develop humans, because humans are our business.
Amen.
We really love doing all things that put humans in the right positions. Let's get started. I want to know, what is one of the recurring issues that we often hear from agencies that deal with people that come out of training programs, is that it sounds great on paper, but it doesn't really translate to actual capability when they are on the job. So what are the biggest factors that make Ready to Work, the model that you work on right now, different? And how does it make that training result in talent that's actually truly ready to go to work?
The key is the employers. In the traditional educational model, individuals just go to school to get trained on something that they're interested in, which is great, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it aligns with what the market is asking for, what employers need. And so the Ready to Work program looks to kind of blend those two models together, which would be, we talk to the employers, we listen to them on what is needed, and we in turn customize and create programs that fit that model and then connect with the people out into the community. We call it a pull model instead of a push model. So the employer is literally pulling individuals or graduates through the program instead of us just pushing individuals out and hoping they qualify for some of the work that's out in the field.
Yeah, versus giving somebody some kind of training that you hope will be useful. You find out what would be useful and help train people in that.
Correct.
Oh, I love it. That's actually really good. So from your side then, how can employers pledge to be a part of the skills that are actually being taught to these folks? And so if I were looking at it from a government lens, how do you find out what mission is really needed, or what training is really needed for the mission, and then how do you help or have employers help you with that?
Well, our website in particular is the easiest way to go through, sareadytowork.com. You can go through there and gain access to what we call the employer pledge. Employers can go on and actually pledge to support the program. Now, what does that necessarily mean?
Yeah.
You're not guaranteeing you're going to hire, guaranteeing jobs. You're just pledging your support to help the program, whether that is hopefully hiring individuals. It could be doing mock interviews. It could be providing data, industry data on trends and different things of that nature. All of that has value in the Ready to Work space. We currently have over 1,500 businesses locally here in San Antonio that have taken that pledge.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
It's kind of like when people donate to different charities of their choice, they can donate money or they can donate in kind. So you're saying employers really can hire from the workforce that you train, but they can also help in other ways. I love that.
They're shaping the way that the community is growing.
Yeah, of course. And so it's important too, though, because the employers that are around San Antonio have a vested interest in making sure that the folks that are coming out into the workforce are ready to work by having been trained to the needs of the city.
100%. And it also creates more satisfaction from the participants that are going through and getting trained with the idea that these trainings are directly linked to higher opportunities for employment. No one wants to go through and get an education or get a certificate and not be able to gain employment post. So
Yeah.
it makes that a smoother transition.
So talk to me about this. We're in Military City, USA. And
Yep.
so as you and I were talking before we started, the job landscape here might be shaped slightly different because there are so many military customers or installations here. And then there are so many industry vendors or customers that both are trying to find the right shaped workforce to serve the same military mission, and you're helping with that.
Oh, of course. The Ready to Work program, one of its priority populations is transitioning service members. So, and that, by the way, it's not just a service member. It could be their family members. It could be their wife, their husband, their children. Individuals within that household all qualify for an elevated level of support to help and assist them into transitioning out of the military into civilian life and gaining employment. And that goes for priority with regards to training to try and get them connected. We're doing some work right now in the Skills Bridge program to try and actually connect with them prior to them even transitioning out, to where hopefully they've got the degree or certificate to directly link to employment even as they're transitioning directly out. It's a fantastic program. And we're open to that. And I'll tell you, our employer partners love veterans.
Yeah.
So they want to connect and work with them as much as possible.
So I think that that's invaluable because the number of times ever in my military career that I heard military members that were daunted by where they were going to live because their spouse was having a tough time finding employment, even spouses that had professional degrees and certifications, because they didn't necessarily translate to the areas where they were being stationed. So you're saying, hey, bring your families. We'll help them figure out how to get what's necessary to be employable here in the greater San Antonio area.
100%. And again, the employers are the key. They're very vested in wanting to take care of our military within the local community out here in San Antonio, and quite frankly, across the United States. A lot of the employers that are here are not just localized to San Antonio. They're huge corporations that have that same level of commitment outside of the San Antonio area across the country.
Yeah, I love that you mentioned that because you're not just serving mom and pop shops per se in San Antonio proper. You're serving industry that has hub and spoke all over the place. And so if our military members here have families that go through your program, they could potentially take all of the skill and thing that you help them with to the next place.
Oh, 100%. The beauty of a lot of the trainings, so the trainings within Ready to Work are not just certificate-based. You could get associates, bachelors. We support apprenticeship programs through the Ready to Work program. So again, these certificates are not just regionalized. The education and the credits that you receive, you can use those and transfer and be validated and recognized across the country.
Oh, I appreciate that. Now, I mean, I think it's really good that we talk about, though, the misalignment sometimes that happens between what people are getting trained on and then the mission that we're trying to squeeze them into. Have you found that a lot of employers are actually like coming and knocking on your door, finding this website and saying, hey, look, how do we help? Or how do we help you get more employers to be interested in that? Because it serves a federal mission, like I said, from both sides of the coin. Are you finding that?
It's a little bit of both. I mean, initially when the program was launched, it was actually launched with leadership in business. So when the program was formed, business leaders were actually the ones that came in under the direction of the city council and mayor at the time to provide their feedback. So it was built by employers, and it continues to be built and guided by employers. We have a board, and our board is made up of local employers, of small and large businesses. And so we continually are getting that messaging. And that messaging helps us make pivots and shifts depending upon what the nature of business is. Again, this is an employment program where we educate people to gain employment, but without employment, there is no program. And so we constantly are listening and taking kind of the temperature of what's going on in business. And it does shift. I mean, since COVID, because this was opened up because of COVID.
Oh.
And post-COVID, things have changed a little bit and things shift, the market adjusts. And so we adjust along with it based upon the needs of what the employers are telling us.
I think it's great because that book that I speak on all the time, like Who Moved My Cheese,
It's so
right?
funny. Yeah, I've read that many, many times.
Yeah, but I think about that when you say that because, okay, we trained somebody on something or they got training on something. If they rest on their laurels, they're not going to continue being successful. We've got to grow with things as things change.
I'll give you a prime example.
Please.
at end of COVID, who would have thought AI would have been what it is now so fast? And I will tell you some of our training programs and some of our feedback from employers where we're braiding in AI components to some of the training because it's required, because business has shifted. And so in order to make the participants going through the program more attractive and more applicable to the work that they're doing, we're adding additional skills, AI being a key component.
Oh, that's brilliant. I love it. I love the adjustment because too frequently we tend to think that this is like a destination. You get somewhere and we're done.
If
right?
only.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But instead, this is more the journey,
Yes.
right? I love it. You get
I love
somewhere.
that you say that. I appreciate that.
Of course. I mean, I think it's important that we mention that because there might be folks that are looking for someone that is getting trained in AI because they want to help move their business model forward,
Sure.
for example. And where do they start? Well, this might be where they start. You're training folks to do some of the stuff that the future of the workforce needs.
Exactly.
Yeah, I love that. So Ready to Work, then, it operates like this training pipeline, and it's updating itself based on the demand that is coming down the pike from leaders at these businesses saying, hey, here's the thing that we need and want.
Correct.
And so the city constantly then, I assume, is checking in with employers to be like, hey, give us the temperature of how this is working for you.
100%. We also take the temperature of our participants, the individuals going through the program. So during the summer this last year, we instituted what we call participant listening sessions. And so we were doing blind random samples where we were connecting with participants that were consuming and going through the program at different levels, whether it was when they were intake, whether they were in school, or even after post when they were looking for a job or even placed. And we pulled them in a room, and we continued to do this every quarter, where we listened to them, like, how was the experience? What were some things that we can change? What were some things that were great? And so, again, we're very reflective in the program. This program belongs to the local citizens out here in San Antonio. And so I'm a civil servant, but it's incumbent on us to make sure that we continue to sharpen the saw, so to speak, and constantly look for ways to improve it.
No, I think it's good. And I just want to tell anyone who's out there listening that if you have an opportunity to go to the website and take a look at how do you get involved as an employer, how do you give information on what it is that you're looking for, and then maybe how do you help bring some folks into your workforce here or in other places. Yeah, so let's move on just a little bit and talk about some of your talent shortages,
Sure.
maybe. So service delivery, like providing people to do the job, then always depends on having the right people in the right roles. And many agencies are actually struggling to find qualified local talent. So from your vantage point, how are you guys providing the skill enough to try to stabilize the workforce that San Antonio relies on? I mean, are you like bringing more people in, trying to pump them out faster? Or are you like, what are you trying to do here?
It's kind of a combination of a lot of different things. The beauty is a lot of the partnerships that we've made in the last 3.5 years of being in the program are on the educational side of the house. So we have a lot of educational partners that are being very flexible and fluid with regards to some of the training that's going on. So instead of, again, trying to jam people into the same old structured classes, if employers come in and say, almost like an a la carte type thing, no, I need this, or I need this and this, the educational partners are actually, in many cases, customizing and creating a training program specific to what employers are looking for. And they're doing that fluidly so that we can push people through and get them connected to what the employers are asking for, with the understanding that it's almost like a spigot. I can turn it up and turn it down depending upon what the market needs is. And that may shift, and It has shifted. That is fantastic. Other key components is meeting some of the participants where they're at. So some programs that we have are more in demand, and there's more shortages with regards to what employers are looking for. Manufacturing in particular. We have a ton of manufacturing jobs that are starting to come out here. Some local employers like JCB coming on site, Toyota that's looking to expand, and a lot of their subcontractors. There's a talent shortage with a lot of those maintenance technicians. By the way, that actually fits in quite well with military.
The military, yeah.
Yeah, and they love the military coming out because of their skill sets that they bring with them. But they just need a little bit of training to get them up to speed. And so that's kind of the things we're focusing in on, is helping bridge that gap between individuals that may have aptitude but just need a little bit of training. And we pipe them into these customized programs or programs that have a lot of input from employers.
Yeah, and you are also then, it sounds like you're working with sort of relevancy and recency. So you get someone maybe coming out of the military and they have skills, but some of those skills, maybe they're removed from it for a little bit because they were moving up a leadership track and they didn't have everything that's current. So you're saying, hey, a la carte, here's a couple of things we need to add to your repertoire to make you a little bit more marketable in that role.
100%. Ready to Work also has a new component that was actually added last year called on-the-job training. And so we actually compensate and reimburse back wages to employers that partner that say, hey, I want to hire an individual that maybe is fairly green and new in the field, but I'm willing to take a chance on them and to train them up. And we supplement part of their wages during that introductory period as a part of an enticement to bring them on board. Again, the idea is to take individuals that maybe wouldn't get a look from an employer before, because in a level playing field, others with more experience may outshine them.
Yeah.
But we're giving them a chance by incentivizing that, and it helps as part of that employment process to get them connected.
No, I think it's great, and I think that the reason why that is most important is because there might be a career field of a veteran in the military, for example, and it's got the same title as what it is in the civilian world, but man, does it operate differently. And so then they come out here and you're like, okay, we're going to give you a baseline, but it's going to be shaped maybe different than that industry partner that wants to hire them. So if they take a chance on them, bring them in, you're like, we'll pay the difference, just train them on the thing extra that you need them to know. Almost like an apprenticeship, but you're paying
100%.
I love that.
Yep.
Yeah, it's very good. And so I saw a post recently from a veteran who said, before getting out of the Air Force, I was told that companies would hire me just because I have a TSSCI. You and I both know that that could not be farther from the truth. And so it speaks to one of the biggest misconceptions about employability. That credentials or clearances automatically translate somehow into readiness. How does Ready to Work help bridge the gap by making sure that people that have actual skills and certifications that employers and agencies need are in line with maybe a certification or a clearance that they've got so that it then is marketable?
It really falls back on that relationship with that employer, quite frankly. So when we talk to these different employers and they tell us what they're looking for, in specific with targeting military individuals that are coming out with some of those certifications and clearances, being able to, before they even exit and come out through, having those relationships in place to help transition that individual, where it's not a mystery, where this individual, was hoping that it would align because that's what they'd been told. No, we actually have it structured to where if someone comes out, they're going to be able to either bypass this or get credit for this and be able to qualify by going through this training program. I'll give you an example. In the past, and it's something we're trying to replicate here, I did a lot of work with Northrop Grumman, Boeing, Lockheed, to take service members that were transitioning out and help them become aircraft fabrication techs, to help build, whether it was engines or airplanes or you name it. And a lot of the work that they were doing in the military would translate, but we had to literally iron it out. Because what we heard from a lot of service members is it felt duplicative, like, hey, I've already done all this. Why can't I get credit for that kind of stuff? And so we ironed a lot of that stuff out so when they came out, A, they knew what they were getting credit for. B, they knew what employers were searching for it. And they knew where the gaps were, and we got them trained up on those gaps and cut down on that gap and then transition from not being employed to employed quite quickly. So we're looking to replicate that same type of desire here with employers, where they're connected and they know what the talent pool is coming out, specifically with service members.
No, I think it's great. And I'll speak only to the Air Force because that's the thing that I know the most. But I remember watching our career fields go from this vast menu to a very shortened menu because they merged a lot of the career fields. And so like one person was wearing 4 hats, for example, and then it went back out again. And so some of the industry partners may not know exactly how what somebody is doing can translate because they're not familiar maybe with the title as it's changed. So what you're doing is parsing that out and saying, hey, look, okay, regardless of what the title was, here are the skills that they're actually capable of doing. We only need to give them these few more and they meet the need of what you're saying you're asking for.
Exactly. And whether that's a training program, it could be an apprenticeship, who knows? I mean, we have the ability at that point to then align more closely to help, again, cut down on the lag time between a transitioning service member and actually getting out and employed.
Yeah. Beautiful. as we're talking about posts, so a recent article reported that UTSA's Cyber Range Lab in San Antonio exists within the Ready to Work program, and that of the 741 people who completed the IT cyber track, only 316 have actually landed industry jobs so far. So what do those numbers tell us about where we are versus where we need to be?
Well, you hit on it earlier on, like what are some of the gaps and difficulties? Cyber and IT have been very challenging. There's a high level of interest from individuals locally with regards to wanting to gain employment in the cyber and IT fields. And what we've seen is the employers aren't necessarily gravitating or hiring a lot of the individuals that are coming out of the program, mostly because we have kind of taken a temperature from some of the employers. They're looking for more of not necessarily entry level, but more mid-level talent. And so there's some gaps with regards to that. One of the things we recently did about 3 weeks ago, we invited a lot of those individuals that are unemployed within that field to go out and do what we call it was kind of a faux or a fake cyber attack. And they did a live cyber attack right in front of the students, kind of simulated it. What is it? Helped give them some skill sets and some soft industry certificates with regards to that type of training, invited employers to that same event. And the employers, and that was all done by design. We wanted the employers, to see the skill sets of some of these individuals, as well as to show them in a real life situation how they would react. Very, very positive. I think we had close to 100 individuals that were present at that meeting. Employers actually did some snap interviews right on the spot with individuals. And we're still kind of sifting through the success of that, of how many individuals we're going to be able to get employment opportunities off of that. But there's a couple other things we're looking to do on that front. Again, taking the temperature from employers, like, okay, if we're not hitting the mark, what can we necessarily do? That's why we added something like this. We're looking at adding some other value-added trainings or certificates maybe on top of that to get those individuals more opportunities. But it definitely has been a gap.
Yeah.
Hey, Joe, I want to chime in on that for a little bit, because we actually had a chance to participate from the beginning. And I had a previous role with the company, and I know we helped a couple of transitioning service member. One from the Army specifically that came through a program that we got approved through the internship programs you all have under that program, and it's been very successful. I've been tracking his career progress, and he just upskilled to an even better paying role. But he came in through one of your apprenticeship programs, as you were talking about. So we reap those benefits. And what would you say to other federal contracting companies to kind of encourage them to get involved the way we did?
You know, the beauty of this program and then why I think it's very appealing to, organizations and companies is because it's flexible. It is not rigid. With a lot of federal programs or even state programs, it's baked in. There's not much flexibility. The program is what it is, and you can't tweak it. You have to kind of conform to the program. Ready to Work is not really like that. We're nimble. We can pivot based upon what market is telling us and what leadership and local organizations are telling us. And it was meant to be that way. And so if I could tell any other organization this, are there shortcomings and flaws? Of course there is. But it's because we're learning. In many cases, we're going down uncharted water, so to speak. And so sometimes we do stub our toes. But the beauty is we can pivot. Yeah. And we do pivot. And we try to do what's right to help the employer as well as the participant.
Well, we love some agile dependability because we think it's really important.
You say that in government in the same breath? Wow, right?
But I think it's important, right? Like, how do you remain agile but still be dependable? And I think it's one of those things that we take to heart. And so I appreciate that you're, walking through that exact same sentiment in a probably more eloquent way.
Well, one of the biggest things is own it. Like, we don't claim the program's perfect. It's not. The intentions are pure. And so with that gives us the ability to not, sit on our laurels and say, well, it is what it is, and we're just going to push through. No, we're going to figure it out. Yeah. And if there's a way to make it better for employers and better for the participants, we're open to looking at everything.
Yeah, and instead of trying to figure out how to make your little foot fit a big shoe.
Exactly. Which is very frustrating.
Yeah. Let's find the right shoe.
Yeah.
No, I think it's brilliant. So let's talk a little bit then on investing in people, because that's what I hear we're talking about. And so when we talk about workforce development, most people think about opportunity, But for those of us that are in federal services, it's also about risk management. So how does a city, backed by the initiative that is Ready to Work, help employers and agencies prevent the staffing issues that can actually derail a mission by using programs like this?
You know, this is a very interesting question because it's not all about just getting people in the door. It's about upskilling, as was noted earlier. It's about upskilling and empowering individuals to grow within an organization, not just get into the organization. Turnover happens, and it's always going to happen. But if you invest in people and empower them, they tend to stick, and they tend to stay with organizations that invest in them. And so that is also a message of Ready to Work. It's not just about training people up and getting them a job. There's also a component of Ready to Work called the Incumbent Worker Training Program. And so we actually do allow organizations to apply for funding where we can upskill their current employees, which, by the way, is semi-controversial because the thought is, oh, why are we paying for individuals? They're already employed. Well, the idea is it's all interconnected. If someone starts out at the bottom and they grow, that does two things. Now someone has ascended, and it also opens up an opportunity for someone to come in behind them. And so that investment creates that cyclical nature of movement within the economy, and we believe in that. And it also creates more stability within our local companies. They have lower turnover rates because their employees are now educated and empowered within the work that they're doing. But the beauty of that is the companies get the benefit of it.
That's right.
But it's the individuals that are trained. If that individual were to ever leave, they take that training with them. So we're empowering people. Yes, employers are gaining the benefit, which they should.
Of course.
But we're empowering people.
No, and it's a great opportunity, as you stated, for someone who maybe wants to grow to be given a tool by which to do it. And then it also affords you the opportunity to make that entry-level position potentially vacant for someone else who's just coming into the workforce with that skill.
Correct.
Yeah.
And honestly, as a government entity, what better investment could we make in an organization than to provide opportunity for them to thrive and grow within our local community?
Yeah, and there's a lot of studies, I mean, I could go on for days about how people feeling invested in will invest back into the company that's taking care of them.
Well, and in truth, we're believers too that if you invest in companies, that they will invest in the community. And we've seen that. Toyota is a prime example of that. Toyota chose, to come here decades ago. And we were rewarded with regards to our partnership here recently when they announced that they were going to be doing some more expansion, which again, that's investing within the local community.
Yeah, great. So I think all the time about the companies that are here in San Antonio that are actually pouring into the workforce, not realizing that they too are training some of these entry-level folks that can come to you to get trained on something maybe higher and then go into some of the federal industries.
Of course.
Yeah, so I mean, it sounds like you're feeding the workforce from all edges here.
And they are. I have to double back on that example I gave, Joel. We actually did that. We had two success stories. So that first gentleman I told you about that was coming out of the Army, he came in through your program. We actually had someone on a different contract. She wasn't in the military, but she also came in through one of your other programs. When we were able to upskill him and he took a different position, she was able to level up from a entry-level position to a more mid-tier position. So what you're talking about, we experienced that. And what you're talking about, that just creates a win all around, a win for the public, the talent, right? A win for the employers, and then just the overall win for the local economy, and then the broad national economy, right? So we've been able to reap those benefits. So cheers to what y'all do over there.
Well, to add to that too, the real win, so if we talk about military, is to keep these people here, keep the talent here. So when they complete their time and they're willing to transition out into public service, we want to keep that talent here. And so as a community, we want to invest in them and get them tied to our companies here. They're part of our community. We don't want them to leave. And so that's part of what Ready to Work does too, is to try and develop and build and keep talent here.
Yeah, and I think that our, federal customer here likes to know that they're getting ready trained force, that they're getting people that are excited to work, that are interested in growth and development. And I think that it reduces that risk that comes with turnover, which is
Yep.
loss of continuity, institutional competency, all of that stuff.
Well, in government world too, it's difficult to bid for contracts when you have instability with regards to the front end of the house. If I don't have talent coming in, it makes it very difficult for me to be able to grow my business. And we know that, and we hear that from employers. And so that's part of our role, is to help stabilize by providing strong talent that meets the needs that the employers are looking for.
So my husband is into all things plant, so he's going to be really proud of this. But I think this sounds a lot like owning and maintaining like a garden, right? Like it depends on making sure that you plant early, that you take care of it, you nurture it, and that you try to address any issues before it becomes a real problem.
Oh, constantly. I mean, you have to, and you got to adapt. You've got to adapt. I got to tell you, don't shoot me, I'm a California boy that moved here to Texas.
Welcome.
Yeah.
Hey, much love. I'm also
a long time
California
ago.
boy.
All right.
You're not alone. You're not alone.
I love it here. But, growing plants out in California is a little bit different than growing it out here in Texas.
Yes,
and
it is.
If I were to try and take that same mentality of how to water the ground and you got to adjust. You got to listen to the local environment about what's going on. So I love your analogy.
Yeah.
It's very apropos.
Hey, I love it. Okay, so here we are. We're wrapping this thing up because we've come to the end. And what I would like to know is, before we actually wrap this up, what is your unsolicited advice to industry leaders who want to help build stronger, more resilient workforces?
My big thing to you is participate. And again, that employer pledge is not necessarily saying you're going to hire, but come participate in the movement of what we're trying to develop out here in San Antonio. We're trying to change the way people go to school, the way people buy homes, they raise their family. It's all built on creating a stable work environment out here in San Antonio. And Ready to Work is going to end at some point. And so what we're trying to do is establish a foundation for not just training and not just job placement, but having all of these different pieces in the community work together.
Yeah.
Because at some point that investment is going to be done. And if the remnants of that are that employers are comfortable working with their government officials and with their local educational partners, and now that is a seamless process, it's a win.
Yeah.
And so, the short wins are, and we'll take them, job placements, education, people buying homes, cars, moving up with promotions. That's fantastic. But the long game is also super important, which is the infrastructure that this will leave in place by having all of our partners working together. So come join us in this mission.
Hey, look, you're giving me chill bumps. I love it because what we're talking about here is creating a movement.
Yeah.
You at Ready to Work have created this thing that other people are going to find interesting, that business and industry are going to love, and that hopefully when the program does sunset, those companies will maybe continue those things themselves.
Yeah, and I will tell you, we've had visitors from other states and other municipalities come and visit us here, and they're in awe with regards to the scale, the scope, and quite frankly, the brashness of the citizenry out here. Like, no one does this kind of stuff, not at this scale.
Yeah.
And so we should be proud of what we're doing. That's not to say that we don't take our lumps, because it's tough work, but it's a good work.
Yeah, no, it's great. I appreciate it. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
We're super glad that you're here.
Thank you.
We're so glad for everyone that has tuned in. You can always learn more about the San Antonio Ready to Work program at readytoworksa.com. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more unsolicited government contracting insights. And we'll see you next time here on Unsolicited.